What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over hidden gem linebackers here in Madden 22. We're going to be going through right outside, middle, and left outside linebackers today. So we are doing this slightly different than normal. Normally, I group players by edge or group players by, roaming linebacker type of guys. But in today's video, I'm just going to simplify it. I'm just going to go all linebacker positions within the game. We're going to pick 10 guys and get these guys started here for you in franchise mode so that you guys know the key names whenever you guys are building your teams in Madden 22. Now, the first entry on today's list is actually going to be the only team entry on today's list, and that is going to be the Seahawks linebackers. Now, the reason that I have this as a team entry for the Seahawks is because they have a couple of guys that I really like. In fact, they have 4 linebackers that I like a lot at their outside linebacker positions. When you take a look at a guy like Jordan Brooks, Cody Barton, and Ben Burr-Kirven, they all have the skill set necessary to be competitive at any of the linebacker positions within your defense in Madden 22. On top of that, they also have the young Tyrell Taylor here out of Tennessee on the opposite side, and then they have, young guys in behind that to fill in, as well as the rock in the center, Bobby Wagner. Now, the point here for the Seahawks linebackers is they can't utilize all of these guys. So between Cody Barton, Ben Burr-Kirven, Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Taylor, and maybe even Bobby Wagner, somebody here is potentially available for you guys to pick up in franchise mode, whether that be somebody gets placed on the practice squad or somebody is available on the trade block. This is a team that you should certainly be reaching out to see if you can't acquire one of these guys, because they all have very good skill sets to be utilized at the linebacker positions within Madden 22. The next player on this list is going to be right outside linebacker Tyrell Lewis out of Alabama. This guy is on this list for multiple reasons. Now, first and foremost, he may not get a ton of playing time within the Rams organization, so you might be able to find a way to acquire him. But more so than that, it is his skill set, his overall, his age, all of these things combined would represent a fantastic linebacker in any of the linebacker positions that you might be looking to play him at. He's a 23-year-old, 68 overall player, and he's 6'5", 262 pounds. So this guy has defensive line size, but he has the athleticism with 83 speed, 83 agility, 88 acceleration to be able to play at the linebacker positions. This is a guy that I would love to get back there and round out his skill set, develop him into a well-rounded linebacker, a field general type of linebacker, or anything of that nature, and you could really turn him into a very, very good player. This is one of the top ones on my list this year, and we all know Alabama players, they kind of get favor from everybody. They're very hyped up, and so he's one of those players that I could see being coded to play better than his 68 overall. Alabama players kind of through and through within Madden get that favor, and I feel like that is kind of a consistent theme here. And so Tyrell Lewis, very, very good name to know here if you can find a way to acquire him in franchise mode. The next player on this list is actually going to be Javon White out of UNLV. He's 6'2", 211, so doesn't have that crazy good size, but he does have very good athleticism to pair with his young age. He's a 62 overall, 24-year-old, so he's not the ideal age, but he has 91 speed and 92 acceleration. So he has that athleticism that you're looking for in prototypical linebackers nowadays, whether he's going to be an edge rusher for you or a roaming linebacker for you, whatever you want to utilize him as, he's potentially available. He has Divine Diablo in front of him right now, who is, kind of the prototype in front of him and going to steal playing time away from him because he's a 66 overall. He's a year younger, and he has very similar athleticism, so a guy like Javon White might become available for you and a name that you should know. In a very similar situation here to the one we just mentioned would be Kaliki Hudson of the Washington football team. With the drafting of rookie Jamin Davis here out of Kentucky, 6'4", 234, he kind of makes Kaliki Hudson's need obsolete. He doesn't, become a player that is utilized in this defense very much, if at all. And so Kaliki Hudson, as a 23-year-old, 66 overall, projects out to be somebody that could be available for you. 87 speed, 89 acceleration. His skill set isn't the greatest right now, but you can build him up around those physical tools that everybody's looking for nowadays. 5'11", so he's a little bit short at that position, but I think he could be a really, really effective player if given the time of day and utilized correctly. Now, the next two spots here are going to be filled by players on the Browns team, and they could take a team role, but I'm going to give them each an individual spot. Two guys that I actually like a lot, and that is right outside linebacker Mack Wilson, who again gets replaced by a rookie. They don't really have the need for him quite so much, and so he becomes a little bit more available. He doesn't have that athletic skill set that everybody's looking for, but he's more of that traditional run-stuffing type of a linebacker, hard-hitting linebacker, and he's out of Alabama. Again, we talked about Alabama. We know about it. He's 23 years old, 68 overall. He has a very good skill set in terms of being able to stop the run. I've gotten this guy up to a superstar multiple times in various different franchises, and I think that he's going to be a really good player to have if you can find a way to get him. And then the next player here is going to be Jacob Phillips, another very similar player. Doesn't have that, raw athleticism, but is a pretty good player at 22 years old, 68 overall, and that's one of the younger ages in this group. And 6'3", 229, 84 speed. The 84 speed here out of Mack Wilson and Jacob Phillips isn't really even on the lower end of things for linebackers. It's kind of in the middle there, and so it's very, very serviceable. These are guys that you should know because they might lose out on playing time because of the guys in front of them. Now, that's not to say that they'll definitely be available, but they are names that you should certainly reach out for if you're looking for young linebackers that you can build up and turn into those star players that you want to run your defense. The next player here who is a bit of a no-brainer is Tyrel Dodson of the Bills. And, he's sitting behind one of the better linebackers in the league in Tremaine Edmonds. Very, very good linebacker out there right now. Also very athletic and very young. And so Tyrel Dodson, not used very much. I like his combination of skills. He's a 63 overall, 23-year-old, so he shouldn't cost you much to acquire him. 86 speed though, 88 acceleration, and has decent weight and size for a linebacker, 6 foot 237. So he's not small by any means or anything like that for a relatively athletic player. He's more of one of those middle type of guys in terms of his athleticism. He's not really at the top end of his athleticism compared to some other guys, and therefore he might be a little bit less valuable to some other people, and you might be able to get him for even cheaper than some of the other players on this list. But a guy that I like, that I've utilized a couple of times and actually plays pretty well for me. The next three players on this list are going to be free agent players. One of them is super obvious, and that is left outside linebacker Shakeem Griffin. He is 26 years old at this point. I think he should be a significantly higher overall than what he is, because when he's been on the field, he's actually been a very good player. There's kind of a bias to him because of the one-handed thing, and he's not able to be switched in terms of his position within Madden. For whatever reason, they only allow him to be a left outside linebacker, which is a bit odd in itself. There's maybe a little bit of reduction in value because of not being able to switch his position and everything like that. But 26 years old, 91 speed, 91 acceleration, 6 foot 227. I mean, he's a very, very solid player here that you can plug and play at linebacker. At the very least, he's going to be an athlete. He's going to be able to track down plays from behind. He's going to be able to go out there and roam the field, make tackles for you. And if you're looking for a user linebacker, he's a solid user linebacker. So I would certainly have Shakeem Griffin on your list. He is a free agent right now, so he's free, and it's very hard to pass up a player like that is potentially available to you. And then the next two players on this list are going to also be very athletic players. This one I like a lot, and this is Tanner Muse out of Clemson. I believe he's formerly a Raider, 6'2", 227, 24 years old, 90 speed, 90 acceleration. He's a 66 overall. So again, another player that is absolutely free to acquire to your franchises. You should just know his name so that you can pick him up. At the very least, pick him up, put him on your practice squad, and prevent your opponents from having their hands on a guy like this. This is a guy that could be a great user for you, and this is one of those players that I think serves a little bit more of a not so much of a user role, but a just kind of a athlete, one-directional speed type of a guy. He can kind of, get to where he needs to go quickly because his agility isn't the greatest, his change of direction isn't the greatest, and that's something that you need to know with him. In comparison to other guys, like I pointed out, Shakeem Griffin, they have better agility and things like that in order to be able to change direction and, be a better user player. And, in talking about that, we then have Noah Dawkins, who's who's a very similar player, 24 years old, 64 overall, 90 speed, exactly the same, 90 acceleration, exactly the same, but he does have 80 agility. This is a guy that, I feel like has been on this list for me for a season or two now, and a player that I always try to pick up in my franchises because he always does really well for me, even as a rotational type of a linebacker. He just comes in, and I feel like he's always in on the play, always making a play because of his athleticism and things like that. So that's the final entry on this list. Hopefully this list is helpful to you guys, maybe points out a few names that you weren't aware of, or, just gives you a solid list to go off of, in terms of players that you should be trying to target if you're especially looking for athleticism. This list is certainly full of players like that. And, if this video was helpful to you guys, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you have a good one.